Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video. I wasn't able to fly on Friday over at Giga-Texas. I had planned on wishing everybody a happy Mother's Day weekend, but I wanted to do so here and just hope that you were able to celebrate with your mothers or at least have your mothers in your memory. So happy Mother's Day, everybody. Of course, over the weekend, we were treated to a rare sight, auroras all over the world, even at low latitudes. And it was quite a sight to see. Now, this was caused by a particularly strong geomagnetic storm that originated from the sun, propagated out towards the Earth, and it affected satellites, radio communication, even Starlinks. And the size of this was enormous. This gives you a small view of what that might have been. You can see the Earth to scale. And this was a particularly strong geomagnetic storm, the strongest that we have seen in about 20 years. I was fortunate enough to be able to capture these images from my home just north of San Antonio. We're at 29.8 degrees north latitude. That is very far south to be able to see the aurora. So this just gives you an idea of the strength of this storm. Now, the kind of pinkish purple color is really caused by the high energetic particles coming from the sun interacting with the Earth's magnetic field and ionizing some of the gases within the atmosphere. And particularly for this color combination, it was the ionized molecular nitrogen that we have in abundance in the atmosphere. And this tends to be at high altitudes, and that was important for me to be able to see it at the latitude that I was at because otherwise, the aurora would be too low on the horizon. So it was really a fortuitous chain of events that allowed me to be able to capture these images and people around the world to be able to see the aurora just like I did. So switching gears and kind of talking about the sun, I did a video about getting my Cybertruck front windshield and the side windows tinted. And that was to help with the UV and the heat that's coming through, particularly with the windshield. And this is just some of the activity. I give you a chance to see the entire process from the beginning, cutting the tint, preparing the tint for installation by using heat to shrink it and make sure it had the correct shape of the windshield, the actual installation on the inside. I even show you what the clear material looks like that goes on the front windshield. And of course, this is a legal window tint here in Texas and at many states around the country. But the size of the windshield for the Cybertruck is just so huge. I could tell that heat was going to be a problem, particularly in the summer here in Texas. And this is how it looks. It also, corrected the different color windows on the side as you get from the factory. The link is at the bottom of the screen for my video. It's on my YouTube channel, and I recommend you take a look at that for more information. So now, without further delay, let's get into the drone. Let's fly around. Let's see what Giga-Texas looks like on this Monday morning. If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Well, good early morning here at Giga-Texas. I'm modifying my flight path because of the low clouds, misty skies, and thunderstorms getting ready to come through the area. So we're going to start right off the bat on the roof of Body in White. This is where the section has been removed. They put all of the cooling units and the manifolds underneath this open section. Now they're putting the vents in, and they are continuing to make progress in this area. Now we also can see that the multi-level parking garage is progressing towards its completion, and we also see that it has some power, at least in the stairwells and on the ground floor. So this is a great sign, and of course the markings for the parking lots, all of the lights on the roof section, and just to continue with work, you can actually see at the bottom of the screen where the entrance roadway will be with some of the markings that were made. The roof has got all of the concrete poured now, And this section on the east side is complete, and soon they will be able to start doing the markings and installing the lights to finish off this area. Good view of the River Road and Robotic Avenue intersection on the left-hand side of the screen, and the pond that is being reshaped. And we'll get some closer views here shortly. But also, I wanted to give you a good view of the east side. On the ground of the multi-level parking garage, some of the materials, Robotic Avenue's extension, the concrete curbs in the median, and the work to continue to prepare for the underground water management system with those large pipes. The two cranes are still present and haven't really moved in a while, so perhaps they're going to be used for some other construction in this area. Now here's a good lower end view of this new intersection, all of the grade work that has been done. On the left used to be a pond that's mostly been removed, and on the right the large pond is being reshaped on the sort of the southwest corner of it. You can tell that a triangular, probably water detention pond is being created. More dirt is arriving with these trucks, and the bulldozer is spreading it around this location. And also on the right-hand side, we can see kind of a berm that's going down into the pond itself. So perhaps they're just going to reshape all of this so that it is more triangular in keeping with the overall theme of Giga-Texas, but something I'll continue to monitor and see what's going on. Now on the upper right, we can see that new temporary platform on the side of stamping, and here's a good view in of the cooling structural platform. The concrete has been poured on the roof. Most of the forms have been placed around the roof section in those kind of containers. We can see pipe segments. Those are the ones that we've seen being constructed on the far east side of the structure or the site. And then on the ground, we see the red scaffolding is still in place, but it also looks like maybe there's some work being done with yellow membrane on the ground section. It's kind of hard to tell with this angle and the lighting. But as I zoom back out, it's a good view of the entire southeast side, the extension of the building. All of the steel erection on the middle section is coming to a close. There's just that section where the two cranes are currently located that need to have the steel installed, and we'll see that closer here shortly. We also see a lot of materials on that southeast side, continuing waiting for installation, and a good view along the length of the building and how the extension looks, creating the longer structure overall, and how it's eventually going to be all under one roof, and it will look like it's just a seamless part of the original structure. Now here's a good view of the roof itself with the materials that have been installed, more of the materials in those white containers waiting for installation, and also the roof decking on the left has been installed over the new steel, and the center section here has all of the steel installed up to where the cranes are with the roof and floor decking already in place. So this is going to be finished off relatively quickly. And also it's giving us not really a chance to look down and see the work that is being done, even though I'm trying to here. And a good view of the ground floor, a second floor, and even a third floor in this area where the crane is located. And then where the smaller crane is located, you can see how this is progressing and how the 4 tanks are completely enclosed. I'll zoom back in from this perspective to get a good view of this cooling platform and some of the platforms that are being installed on the left on the roof section, and again how those container units appear now on the roof with what looks to be some plumbing fixtures being installed as well. So let's continue to fly along this side of the structure, and I'm going to bring the drone down and we'll fly along the south end and take a look at the progress on this end of the building. As I come around this corner on the ground, we can see 5 racks with smaller glass panels. And I'm not sure exactly where those are going to be used. They almost look like the glass that used to be at the south end of the building. So maybe they're going to repurpose them somewhere on the new structure. But a good view of all of the glass that is on the south end. the parapet wall on the roof section on this as well, and also down on the southwest corner. We see more glass in the large crates have been delivered, getting ready for installation along this side. And as I zoom in, we can see many new details. More of the concrete's been poured on the ground slab. Some black pipes have been brought in on that ground slab as well. On the roof, or the second floor, we see large gray pipes. Those are also the pipes that we saw being manufactured on the east side of the site. It looks like they're all being pre-positioned into the second floor. A good view across the ground floor here with some of the earthwork that's being done on the left-hand side of the screen, more of the materials, and of course, a good view here looking at that trapezoidal open section on this part of the structure. I think it's going to be some sort of a foyer, but we'll have to see as it continues to develop. Also, in the middle top left of the screen, a third floor, different from the second floor. So it may be a second floor mezzanine or just a third floor by itself has emerged. And then a good view with the glass and the second floor on the right-hand side of the screen. Also, more of the work on the bottom of the screen towards the middle of the structure where it looks like more preparation for concrete may be underway. And it looks like there's some equipment being installed in the middle section here as well. We can see that concrete section in the right-hand side of the screen on the ground being poured. And of course, the preparation work here where it's possible the boring tunnels may be coming through this area. But we'll try to continue to monitor that and use the views that I have. Here's a good view of the 3 levels on this corner, that opening that has got plastic where they can go from one side of the building to the other, the rubbish chute, and of course the Cybertruck starting to exit the factory from the production line. And more of them are stored here next to this trailer as well. So a good maybe 20-25 on this side of the factory this morning. Now I'm going to bring the drone up. We'll give a quick look at the west side, and then we will resume the video over by the boring company. Now, at the time of the flight, it's very early on Monday. In fact, it's right around sunrise. This is one of the reasons why we're not seeing much activity here at the Boring Company tunneling operation right now. There's also some inclement weather that's going to be coming through with heavy thunderstorms, and that may be affecting some of the operation here as well. But that doesn't mean that nothing has been underway. Now we see the liner trucks have been moving some of the tunnel segments into the tunnel for continuation of the tunneling and the manufacturing of the exterior shell of the tunnel itself. And then we see the spoils bin. Looks like there's been some of dirt coming in, kind of that brown line, and it's just probably from previous tunneling and waiting for more dirt before it's removed. Now here's a good view looking into the tunnel. What we can see is that it is lit inside. We can also see some of the wires that are kind of hanging on the left-hand side of the tunnel itself, and you can see how the conveyor belt system goes inside and that yellow tube that is for the ventilation. But this is about as good of a view as I can give you looking inside, and the end of the gantries is well past where we can see. So that would give you a pretty good idea that this tunnel is most likely under the highway, possibly on the east side of the highway already. But as I reposition the drone, a good view overall of the operations here at the Boring Company site this morning, and hopefully they'll be able to resume tunneling here very soon. Now as we fly to the north over this large clearing, we can see that it's being cleared out and prepared possibly for asphalt in the near future. And then next to the superchargers and these concrete barriers, the bottom of the screen, we can see what looks to be fencing. So perhaps we're going to see this area fenced in very soon, and that would give it more of a finished look. Not a lot of vehicles here at the superchargers today. In fact, almost all of them are Model Ys, a few of the Cybertrucks. And overall, we're going to see not a whole lot of Model Ys, even in the outbound lot today, but quite a few of Cybertrucks in the outbound lot area. So I'm going to fly up over the west side of the outbound lot to the staging yard briefly, try to give you a view of what is being stored here. We see a lot of the spools of wire and conduit. We see steel items, the trailers or containers that store equipment. And we also see some building materials on the left-hand side of the screen. On the right, next to this red and or orange and white tent, we see more pipes, quite a few of them, as a matter of fact. And we see steel items on the left, which is used for the south end extension. And then, of course, the new asphalt section on the left, the ducts for the body in white open section, more of the ventilation ducting here on the bottom of the screen, possibly for that south cooling tower structural location that we saw earlier. And then on this far southwest corner, we see more work being done in that dirt section and preparing that possibly for maybe another parking lot. And then below the drone, the work to prepare this lot here with the light posts for eventual paving, and we'll see if this is part of an outbound lot or another purpose. So as I fly back over the material staging yard, a good view of the blue items on the bottom right that I think are part of a smaller press, and waiting to see those installed. Of course, the warehouse and wheels and the boring company site on the upper right-hand side of the screen. I'm going to bring the drone down and give you a good view across the outbound lot, looking back towards the main factory. The main thing that you will note is just the number of Cybertrucks as opposed to the number of Model Ys. Now, in a previous video, I mentioned that part of the reason is that with the staff layoffs, the Model Y line has taken the brunt of those cuts, and it has been affecting the Model Y production. Some viewers have been speculating it could be a number of other issues, but from what I'm hearing from people that actually work here in the factory, that is the main explanation. So I'll let you interpret that as you would like to. I did take a movement of the drone over to the left to show you the road work that is continuing up to the north, and that is being used for the trucks that are picking up the vehicles and moving them off-site. And then here's a good view of the newer lot on the north end of the outbound lot that's being used as storage for the Cybertrucks. And there's about 3 full lines of Cybertrucks here, another one that's partially, and then we can see some Cybertrucks being picked up and moved off, most likely to prepare for outbound shipping. As I fly up over the outbound lot east side, a good view of some of the Cybertrucks and some of the other vehicles that are being stored here. The test track is busy, several Model Ys, also the Cybertruck. Another thing I would just like to point out is this is extremely early on a Monday, and typically production of the vehicles just starts coming online about the time that I'm flying. So we would not expect to see a lot of new production this early morning at this time. But we can look down and see that most of the earthwork and the concrete vaults in that section have been completed. And as I fly up over the food truck, I'll give you a good view here of a Cybertruck doing a turn test on the test track. And of course, the north end of the end-of-line structure. The glassed end area is the cafeteria, and we can see that many tables have been installed now. So it's possible this cafeteria may be close to being operational. And of course, a few Cybertrucks getting ready to go onto the north side. So let's cross over the highway and let's resume on the other side. A good view here of the west main entrance and how it looks on this misty and rainy day. In addition to that, we see a couple of Model Ys parked next to the trailer on the left-hand side of the screen. As I can tell, there is one Model Y just coming out of the factory on that one black ramp. This is where they exit for the first time. And it's just, as I mentioned, the production is getting going again today, but at a reduced rate. We see more pumping going on at this kind of underground plumbing system that has had this kind of work done over the last couple of years. And I think that it's probably more maintenance than any type of redesign. As we continue to fly up over the west side to the north, I'll stop here where the ground continues to be having the concrete removed for eventual rework. Good view into that one receiving door on the right. It looks like the black plastic's been placed where that green temporary wall panel is, and of course that red and black item for possibly the fire water loop inside. More of the cans for the 4680s are being recycled today. And I'll give you a quick view here how it is picked up by the truck, and then we'll go ahead and continue the flight, but those are then shipped offside for recycling. And just to reiterate, those are not full batteries, they're just the cans for the 4680s being recycled. As we wrap around the northwest corner of the factory, we're going to see some work here on the north end of the 4680 cell production section of the factory, where we know inside they're doing additional work to bring 4 more lines for a total of 8 for production of 4680s by the end of the year. At least that was the original plan earlier this year, so I'm assuming that continues. But we do see a concrete truck and this crane lifting up some of that concrete in that kind of a funnel, and that indicates that there is some sort of concrete pour going on, at least on the 3rd floor today in this area. So good overall view of the work that is going on here. As we continue to fly across the north face of the facility and past the paint shop here, we see more of those rack mounts on the ground for vehicle bodies. 3 of these doors are open into the casting section next to the Cybertruck. More castings on the ground here, and of course the conduit work and trenching is making progress here. They've installed another one of those concrete vaults. They've put some of that red concrete on some of the installed conduit, and we see a couple more branches of the conduit starting to come away from the facility, and that will eventually join up with more conduit that we will see later in the video coming out of the south end of the electrical switch yard. There's a lot of interesting details here on the east side. We see that black and gray truck with the pipe. This is doing some preparation for screw-type piers. We see the large opening with the workers preparing that for reconfiguration. Used to be 3 individual receiving doors. More of the flues and collectors on the left, possibly for the baghouse plant that's being constructed here. Concrete has been poured, and some formwork looks like is being placed where all of these screw-type piers have been installed, and more of those piers and some rebar on the left-hand side of the screen as well. In fact, that actually might be a mud base rather than concrete, which is what is needed to ensure that the rebar can be installed properly before actual concrete is poured. And that may explain why the forms are sitting on top of that right now and the shape that it is in. So that is a good sign that we're going to see a lot of concrete in that section here shortly. Also, the forms gives us an idea of the shape of what's going to be built there. And a good overall view of the east side of casting and how it continues to transform. As we work our way to the south, we see 2 more of those receiving doors that have been cut into the building, more of the castings next to those towers, and of course this new area of receiving doors with the partial assemblies or enclosures installed and waiting for that concrete. As I turn back towards the multi-level parking garage over the turbo roundabout and take a look at the testing and calibration lot, we see that it's mostly being used for Cybertrucks. Some of them have lights flashing, which indicates that there's some sort of software update going on in addition to getting supercharged. And there is a large number of them in this lot today, probably close to 100, and that's in addition to what we saw on the west side. So as I continue to work our way along the testing lot towards the helicopter pad, and of course the wind tunnel on the left and the Rainmaker on the right, we can get a good view of Robotic Avenue and all of the steel corrugated pipes that are waiting to be installed as part of that stormwater management system. And as I pull away here, it's a good overall view of this side of the site, the multi-level parking garage, and where that testing and calibration lot is located. So I'm going to reposition across the east side over to the battery cathode plant and die shop, and we'll resume the narration over there. It appears this new clearing has had some gravel mix placed on top and some additional dirt being spread as well. We also see more of steel corrugated pipe being stored here at the far east side of what eventually will be Tesla Road's extension, and you see more of the steel corrugated pipe on the left-hand side of the screen where they have been doing some trenching and installation work up until today. We've seen that over the last couple of weeks. On the east side of the die shop at the crash test facility, looks like there's a Cybertruck that has been crash tested with part of the truck covered with a black or white plastic wrap. And as we continue to fly along the crash test facility, we see more of the Cybertrucks on the left waiting for their turn for crash testing, some additional vehicles that have had crash testing, and next to the Wade pit, two more that have had crash testing with, looks like TX written on the sides. Now, as we continue to look towards the northeast, I'll fly over the cell testing lab and some of its materials and containers on the outside of the lab. And then as we look up to the top of the screen over this clearing, we can see the rental equipment lot and where maintenance is done in that large field with the lone tree. And in addition to that, we see the other large rectangular field on the left with some of the materials for the production lines all waiting, and someday we'll see that being moved into the factory. As I bring the drone back down here, give you a good look at some of the materials that continue to be stored here next to the concrete segments waiting for recycling. Those two large steel shiny containers almost look like tubes waiting for their chance to be installed, plus the red and white bridge crane. This is a good overall view of the entire site with the crash test facility and the cell test lab and Wade pit on the left, the battery cathode plant in the middle, and of course the west side where the die shop is located. We also see some materials at the bottom of the screen near to the lift station, which still has the access covers open on those concrete vaults. As I bring the drone down lower, on the left-hand side of the screen is one of those concrete wall segments, which I think may be used to fill in the open wall that you can see in the upper left-hand side of the screen of the cathode plant. More of the steel corrugated pipe waiting for installation, and the graded area. Hopefully we'll be seeing some asphalt soon, especially with all the rains that are still coming through the area. Good view of the die shop, the furnace or the kiln on the north side, and a dwindling amount of materials that have been recently delivered and have been viewed being moved inside for assembly. This is a good view of this section where it used to have that temporary platform, the open area of the wall with the plastic kind of hanging down. That's where I think that wall panel will go. The chiller plant looks like it's active today. All four of the fan units are working. And of course the tank farm and the vaporizers as we fly to the south inside the alleyway between the two structures. I'm going to reposition the drone to take a look at the south end of the die shop, give you just a good view of how this continues to take shape with the main entrance on the bottom right or the center of the screen, and that new receiving door with that ramp on the left. So let's reposition and take a look at what's going on at the electrical switch yard today. It's a good view of where the old temporary electrical switchyard used to be, all of the work that has been done for these concrete vaults and the conduit that goes through this area next to that green berm to the south to where we see these two open vaults. Some more of the conduit is partially visible where it's being covered back over, and then it continues past this yellow and white earth moving equipment to this section where it takes a 90-degree turn, goes underneath the power lines over to that small pit, and it takes another 90-degree turn, and then it heads over to that conduit that we see just to the north of Tesla Road. So I'll bring the drone over the power lines and back down. I'll give you a good view of what this looks like from a lower altitude. Now this is getting ready to also take a turn to the south. You can see on the right-hand side where the excavations are at the end of each of the conduit banks, where another set of the concrete vaults will be located, and then that will go underneath Tesla Road, underneath this parking lot, and then back over to the northeast section of casting where we see all of that conduit being installed. So that will bring to a close our view around Giga-Texas on this low cloud and misty day. And with the thunderstorms about ready to come through the area. So I'm going to wrap up the video now, and I'll pull away, just give you a good overall view of the entire site and what we saw today. So as always, thank you very much for your support. I very much appreciate it. I hope you have a great week coming up, and take care.